So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But as always, the usual disclaimers. And I'm sorry for my appearance, but I did just get off of work. I got off work early, so I'm getting this stuff taken care of now. But to the shortened disclaimers, right? If you are new to the Stop the Shock campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the descriptions box. One of the most notable being the link to the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non for profit started by Autistics for Autistics, wherein they interviewed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC so called behavior modification program. It is a particular article that the JRC, Judge Rotenberg Center, found so threatening that they have threatened them with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic is refused, so please read that article, share it on all your social media. We also got their public statement in there and a link to their GoFundMe in case the JRC sees through with their threat. Folks, when we talk about places like Agape and the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people, disabled people, and people with mental health issues being tortured and abused. If you do got young children present, folks, please go ahead and utilize those headphones, all right? Trigger warning, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. So if your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously, parental supervision is advised, all right? Okay, so where we left off last time, right? Here we go. Beyond the political impact that the international condemnation of the human rights violations can have, however, there is little opportunity for enforcement, even of rights and treaties that the U.S. is actually party to. See, here's where we're going to find out exactly why, how, in spite of the fact that the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture has called what they do at the JRC torture, and in spite that they've tried to use that international pressure to get a federal investigation into the JRC, why nothing has happened. The U.S. has not signed on to the Rome Statute, which would make it subject to the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court in trials over crimes against humanity and similar atrocities, and has in fact been markedly hostile to the idea, leaving our own courts to decide on what constitutes such abuses and what is to be done about them. Isn't that an interesting little tidbit? So the US is one of the biggest countries that pound their chest in regards that everybody must fall in with the line of those international laws when it comes to crimes against humanity, torture, what have you. But the US itself, as loud as it crows, ad nauseum, I might add, especially the GOP. I am eyeballing you, you Bush era. You know who I'm talking about. Okay? You know who I'm talking about. In spite of this fact, they do not feel like that. They, and I say they very pointedly because I'm talking specifically about our politicians and, the corporations that own them. Let's be real here. They don't feel like they should be subject to the same rules. Interesting, isn't it? It should be. It should be. Should be very interesting to all of us to know that the US refuses to follow the rules it lays down for everybody else. That's probably its own topic. I'm going off there. I just find it absolutely humiliating, nauseating, and infuriating that the US can continues this crap where they will allow places like the JRC to continue what they are doing because they have enough money to bribe them. It's infuriating, folks. I know you can't really see it on my face, but it's probably because I've been living with this rage for over a decade since I first heard about and started digging into the JRC. Let's move on, shall we? The result of this has been to largely close the door on enforcing international human rights standards on a domestic basis, like I was just ranting about there. Specifically in Sosa versus Alvarez Machain, the Supreme Court set a very high standard for plaintiffs to meet in attempting to do so. In order to prevail, one must show that the international law in question is widely recognized and accepted by civilized nations. If that doesn't sound pompous and arrogant to you, I don't know what does. Have they seen the majority of their constituents lately? We really have no business sticking up our nose in the air regards to anyone else, is all I'm saying. And that is at least comparable to the types of international principles that were recognized at the time that the US first allowed such claims to be heard in its court in the late 18th century. The court has repeatedly considered prohibition on torture to be a norm that is so widely accepted by the international community so as to be enforceable through the US justice system. That being said, given the deference that courts have shown to schools and institutions in administering discipline and treatment, and given the U.S. own refusal to sign on to such conventions as the CRC or the CRPD, it seems unlikely that a court would consider the use of aversives to be torture for the purposes of this type of litigation. Think about that, folks. It's the same old, and it hasn't really changed since the institution era, has it? If it's called treatment, then you are allowed to torture disabled people and people with mental health issues. That's what this says here. I hate to bust people's reality, but this is reality. This is the reality for any of us that suffer from mental health issues or who are disabled. This is the gritty reality we have to face. Because if they actually get these people to believe, or bribe them to believe, that what they're seeing on that video of Andre McCollins is not torture but treatment, that leaves us. You see where I'm going here, right? When I tell you that we are treated like third-class citizens as disabled folk, I need you to pay attention because I'm not mincing my words here. Okay? All right. They do not use the same rules to protect us that they use to protect everyone else. If it had been a neurotypical strapped to that 4-point board, that place would have been 6 feet under a long time ago. The reason why I want this to sink into your head is first for you to realize why, after 6 kids dead, after the trial of Cheryl Collins versus the JRC, after all the documents we have gone through, why a place like JRC not only still exists, but why it continues to flourish and has become $1 million making business of torture. Okay? I'm also telling you this so that you can realize, although the JRC is one of the most extreme cases, abuses, what we would consider abuses towards neurotypical kids, even within the realm of a public school, it's not treated the same. Okay? Let's finish up, shall we? Furthermore, in the most, but not all cases of alleged violations of human rights, including those involving torture, the defendant must have been acting the color of state law, raising similar difficulties to those found in 1983 actions when it comes to the conduct of private entities. So you see what we're up against, right? This leaves a situation where if you find yourself the right group of politicians who would rather take money first and ask questions never, that means we are sitting ducks, folks. And when we're kids, our parents are sitting ducks. It's part of the reason why I go over it like I do on this channel. It may be a small audience, but I'm hoping something that I say will get out to someone and that will go to another someone. You know? If I'm making the situation sound bleak, good. Because it is. And it always has been. The so-called improvements are extremely superficial and only on the surface. And I'm going to go ahead and close out on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you next video.